standing with me is his father, James Baker. While I will be the only one speaking today, we stand united as parents, fighting together for our son.
That's right.
Our son has severe nonverbal autism, meaning he cannot speak. People say they want the facts. What can you ask him if he cannot speak? But I can. I am his voice, and I will speak for him. We trusted his school to protect him, to care for him, and to treat him with dignity. Instead, he was harmed, silenced, and failed by the very people who were supposed to keep him safe. What I discovered on the camera footage is something no parent should ever have to ever see or hear. Our child was put in a situation where he was scared, overwhelmed, and powerless. And while this was happening, there was adults in the room who did nothing to stop it. This is unacceptable. So today, we are demanding accountability and change. I'm calling for a full, immediate investigation. Every teacher, every staff member who has access to my son must be interviewed. There needs to be a complete and honest review of what is happening inside these classrooms. We are demanding that the individual who assaulted our son be terminated immediately. Yes. And prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. And not just him. Any staff member who witnessed this abuse and chose to stay silent must also be terminated. Silence is not a face of abuse, and just to be quiet and keep it going, it's you being complicity. My son has severe nonverbal autism. He cannot speak, but I can. I am his voice, and I will speak for him. And this cannot stop with my son. We are calling for a 𝗪𝗪𝗏 law, a policy that requires cameras in a classroom that serves nonverbal and vulnerable children. Our children deserve protection, transparency, and accountability at all times, not just when something goes wrong. No parent should have to question whether their child is safe at school. No child should suffer in silence because they cannot speak. My son deserves justice, and we will not fight. I will not stop fighting until he gets it, until no other child has to change or has to go through this. I am his voice, his eyes, his ears. He cannot speak, but I will speak for him. Justice for 𝗪𝗪𝗏.
Yeah. And we're definitely praying for that mom. Because, see, what we don't realize is that this kind of thing happens a lot, especially to children with special needs. And it shouldn't be happening, but it is. And there has to be some accountability, period. So we're definitely praying for that mom, that family, that little boy. Because, from here on out, he's going to be afraid. And he already can't speak. And to the other part of it, there are a lot of nonverbal children in the past, I want to say decade. What's causing this? That should be the bigger question we should be asking. Why can't our children speak? And when they can't speak, why can't they read and write? And they're being sent to school, public education, foreign education, that they're not getting. So something has to give and something has to be done. And it is our job as the citizens of this country to make sure that it's fixed and the rights are wrong and the wrongs are steered in the correct way, I should say. And Chloe Matthews, thank you so much for joining. She says, hey, back to you. And JJ 1989, thank you so much for joining this morning, JJ. He says, good morning, peace and blessings. Good morning to you. Now, this next video I wanted to get into is from Ashley. You guys may have seen her on Instagram or TikTok or even YouTube. And she's talking about some things that were put in place after World War II. I wasn't aware of this. She gives some really good historical information in her videos, so definitely check her out and give her a follow.
Two planning documents, old housing files, census reports, urban renewal notes, that sort of thing. And I found something something that made me stop and go, wait, what? Because while this country was celebrating the post-war boom, the federal government was quietly tracking where Black families built wealth. Not to support it, not to expand it, of course. Just to keep an eye on it. So let me explain what was actually happening. Right after World War II, several federal agencies, they started making maps and reports about where Black middle-class neighborhoods were forming. Not poor neighborhoods, middle-class ones. This included the FHA, the old HOLC system, which, by the way, their redlining maps were still influencing decisions being made, the Census Bureau, the Department of Commerce, and city planning boards. And what were they tracking, right? They wanted to know where Black families were buying homes, where Black-owned businesses were growing, where Black income was rising, where Black professionals were moving. So basically, mapping Black prosperity. And the language in these reports, you know it wasn't positive. You'll see phrases along the lines of Negro income concentrations, areas of rising Negro prosperity, shifts in racial stability. And once those neighborhoods were identified, the pattern just becomes obvious. In cities across the country, Detroit, Chicago, DC, Atlanta, St. Louis, and plenty more, Black middle-class neighborhoods were flagged as risks to the existing racial balance. And after those neighborhoods were flagged, here's what tended to follow. Highways cut straight through them. Zoning changed to block business growth. Mortgage access tightened. Schools gerrymandered. Urban renewal targeted those areas. These weren't random decisions. They showed up right after the mapping. What the planners were worried about wasn't poverty. It was Black stability, Black families using the GI Bill, Black home ownership going up, Black business districts getting strong. Black upward mobility to them meant political power, voting power, economic influence. And the planning documents read like they were trying to keep that from growing too fast. So here's the part that made it click for me. By the 1950s, these maps were being used to justify decisions that were made to break apart Black neighborhoods, thriving Black neighborhoods, highway reconstruction, redevelopment, denial of loans, neighborhood clearance, school lines drawn to keep districts unequal. Not because the neighborhoods were failing, though, because they were succeeding. Planning boards literally described Black middle-class areas as something that needed to be managed before they influenced nearby white suburbia. So here's the real takeaway. Black prosperity after World War II wasn't something that the government just noticed. It was something they monitored. Different decade, different wording, same pattern. Track it, limit it, redirect it, contain it. And once you understand that pattern, a lot of what we see in modern housing just starts to make more sense.
Yeah. When I saw that video, I was like, whoa, that's pretty heavy. Because until this day, they continue to tell the Black community, and I'm